After months of attacks, Gaza is now a broken state. Can a broken Gaza rise again?
Geolens. See beyond the surface. In 2024, Gaza's economy didn't just fall, it collapsed entirely. What was once a fragile, struggling economy has now been reduced to silence. Gaza has no currency of its own. People here use the Israeli shekel. Since the start of the war, no new cash has been allowed in, so even the bills people have are falling apart. UN Trade and Development reports that Gaza's GDP plunged 83%, shrinking to just $362 million, a number so small it barely reflects the lives behind it. An entire economic system left in ruins. GDP per capita has dropped to $161. Inflation has soared to 238%, and unemployment has reached 80%. Today, every one of Gaza's 2.3 million people lives below the poverty line. For many, survival has replaced any idea of a future. According to the UN, the military operations after October 2023 have destroyed Gaza's economic foundations, pushing a generation already living on the edge into total economic collapse. A 1 kilogram of flour in Gaza can cause as much as $35, most expensive on Earth. The UN estimates that 69 years of human development have been wiped out. The Human Development Index is expected to fall from 0.716 to 0.643, reversing 25 years of progress, a quarter of a century of effort, gone in months. By late 2024, Gaza's GDP had fallen back to 2010 levels. 15 years of growth, erased. And for the people living through it, the question is no longer about development. It's about how to rebuild a life from almost nothing. Gaza's destruction can be seen from the sky, but it's the numbers that reveal the true depth of the loss. A joint World Bank and UN report estimates $18.5 billion in damage, 97% of the entire GDP of the West Bank and Gaza in 2022. It's as if an entire year of economic life has been wiped away in a single wave of violence. The destruction is led by residential buildings, followed by commerce, industry, and essential services, the physical backbone of daily life, now reduced to broken concrete and twisted metal.
Before the war, there were 56 bank branches and 91 ATMs in Gaza. Now, 98% of them have been destroyed or damaged, according to the World Bank.
Nowhere is the collapse more visible than in Gaza's hospitals. These were the last places meant to offer hope. OHCHR said 94% of Gaza's hospitals have been damaged or destroyed. Gaza's infrastructure is collapsing. Its hospitals are fighting with their last breath. To rebuild Gaza, the world is now looking at two very different plans. One backed by the United States and Israel, the other led by Egypt, and now embraced by the Arab world. Arab leaders have spoken with one voice. The Egyptian plan is now an Arab plan. The Egypt-Arab plan places the cost of rebuilding Gaza at $53 billion, spread over 5 long years, with completion envisioned by 2030. Its ambition is vast. to rebuild Gaza in a way that can accommodate nearly 3 million Palestinians, not in temporary shelters, but in a functioning city meant to last. Reconstruction is divided into 3 phases, each one marking a step away from survival and toward dignity. Phase 1. Early recovery. The first phase lasts 6 months at a cost of $3 billion. This is the phase of clearing the ruins. Rubble is removed. Water and electricity are slowly restored. Here, 200,000 temporary homes are planned to shelter 1.2 million people who have lost everything, not as a final answer, but as a beginning. Phase 2. Reconstruction, Stage 1. Over the next 2 years, with $20 billion in investment, the plan moves beyond emergency survival. Debris removal is completed. New water, power, and communications networks are built. And 200,000 permanent homes begin to rise from the dust. For the first time, rebuilding is no longer about waiting for aid. It is about returning to normal life. Phase 3. Reconstruction, Stage 2. The final phase stretches over 2.5 years and carries the largest cost, $30 billion. This is where Gaza is meant to reconnect with the world. A fishing and commercial port, a rebuilt Gaza airport, a 600-feddan industrial zone designed to create opportunity instead of dependency. Funding for this plan would come from many hands: the United Nations, international financial institutions, development banks, donor countries, especially Gulf Arab states, and foreign investment drawn by stability and hope. But buildings alone cannot rebuild a society. Under the plan, Egypt and Jordan would help train Palestinian police forces tasked with restoring order, protecting neighborhoods, and safeguarding what is rebuilt. In the U.S.-Israel plan, Gaza is no longer seen as a single place. It is divided, not by neighborhoods or communities, but by zones. Each color carries a different meaning and a different future. The green zone. The green zone is described as the starting point, an area in the east and south of Gaza, where initial reconstruction and stabilization would begin. Here, rebuilding is allowed, but under watch. Security in this zone would be maintained by an international stabilization force, alongside Israeli forces during the initial phase. It is presented as a safe space, a place where recovery can begin, carefully, slowly, under constant supervision. The red zone. This is where destruction is heaviest, where rebuilding is limited, where life remains uncertain. Security would shift only gradually, from Israeli oversight to international forces and eventually to vetted Palestinian police, if conditions allow. For those living in the red zone, reconstruction is not promised. It is postponed. The yellow line between these zones runs a line. The yellow line, a military demarcation marking areas of initial Israeli withdrawal, but not of absence. Along this line, the Israeli military maintains control, overseeing the security perimeter. It is not a border, but it feels like one. A reminder that movement, rebuilding, and daily life are still measured against security calculations. In this vision, Gaza's future is mapped in colors, controlled in stages, conditional.
The plan envisages a phased Israeli troop withdrawal with little in the way of timelines. The exception is the first move back in advance of the hostage release to come within 72 hours of the initial agreement. Israel would still control the majority of the territory. The second withdrawal would happen when an international stabilization force of Arab and Muslim countries would be in place, with the capacity to ensure Hamas was disarmed. Israel would still control more than a third of Gaza. A final withdrawal to what is termed a security buffer zone would be based on standards, milestones and timeframes linked to demilitarization.
Donald Trump and his son-in-law viewed Gaza through an economic lens. He spoke of Gaza's coastline as valuable waterfront property, imagining a future driven by investment, tourism, and development. When the dust settles and the world's attention moves on, one question refuses to fade. Can Gaza rise again? Plans have been announced, blueprints drawn, promises made, visions imagined. But reality is heavier. UNCTAD warns that even under the most optimistic conditions, Gaza may need decades just to return to its pre-2023 state. Rebuilding alone could cost more than $70 billion. And money, the United Nations says, is not enough. Without a durable ceasefire, without unrestricted humanitarian access, and without sustained international support, recovery is not delayed. It is impossible.
That is going to be the focus, I suspect, for the international community, because unless you can find a resolution to this question of how do you disarm Hamas, how do you secure Gaza, how do you create the conditions for rebuilding, unless you can answer those questions, none of these ambitious plans for post-war Gaza are going to move forward.
So rising once more will demand more than concrete and cranes. It will require protection for what is rebuilt, stability that lasts longer than a single truce, and a future shaped with the people of Gaza, not around them.